Hey you guys, today I'm going to make a little video on bar maintenance while I'm doing some. Eventually your bar grooves, that kerf in there, it opens up. You get wear on the inner cheeks of the bar plates, these laminated plates, and then you get all this rock. Okay? Now if that chain can rock on the rails, it doesn't matter how many times you dress your rails, it doesn't matter how much accurately you sharpen your chain, it doesn't matter if you put a new chain on. If you put a new chain on and it's cutting scallops, you need to address your bar. So this right here is my bar rail closer, and it's made from a water pump idler, or a serpent belt idler right there. I think that was off a Volvo. And then this is just a cam follower bearing. I believe I drilled a hole, stuck the follower, welded it, cut the stub off, and then so this is just sitting on a post. Right there's a post welded in, threaded for this belt tensioner to pivot from. And then this is the adjustment to tighten up. So obviously all you do is take your bar and run it back and forth. But it takes a pretty good amount of effort, and some of the worst metal splinters I've ever had have been off the sides of a bar. So you definitely want to wear gloves and be pushing off the back, not here, because if you slip and get it in the web of the hand, it's awful. So you're going to close that thing up, and then you use a piece of chain to just gauge if you've got it, right. So make sure you've got a scrap of a chain, or the actual chain you're going to use is fine as long as it's not worn out. But you want to make sure that chain travels through the whole length of it with a consistent smoothness. And if it pinches anywhere, then you go in there and you go in with a chisel that's been ground to fit nicely. The wider the better, in my opinion, so that you don't mar it. And you tink 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 tap that to flare it back open, but not too much. And once you've done that, then it's time to dress the bar on a flatbed belt sander is what I use. So we dress the bar rails on a 90-degree belt sander so that this gets cut by a sanding belt. Actually, it would be like running on this bed like that, and the sander squares off those rails. And so that tightens the chain up, it flattens the rails, it takes the burrs off, and also you get your straps or side links or whatever, they're not going to be falling in and cutting a V into that kerf anymore. A lot of times you look down here, and I know I won't be able to get it to focus, but a lot of times you look down this end and you get a real saddle shape. And that saddle is usually a pretty good indication. Like when you've got a razor's edge on the outside and a saddle to the center, it's a pretty good indication your bar has widened out. Your rails have opened. So that's going to allow that rocking, which is going to make the cutters drift this way and cut a crescent, and the bar will jam. When you're trying to buck firewood or buck logs, the bar will cut, bananas, and it will jam halfway, and then you'll have to plunge and cut with the tip and all these other silly things. That's not a chain issue for the most part. You'd have to try pretty hard to jack a chain up bad enough to cut like that. It's a bar issue. If you got money, hey, throw your old bar out, or rather than throw it out, give it to some poor guy that, runs saws, and go buy yourself a new bar. But if you're the poor guy, make yourself some kind of bar closer. Some people hammer them, but I think the roller is just maybe a little bit better. So let me get this done. Now when you close it up too tight, you're going to have spots that will not drop the drive tooth in. And what you got to do is open that up. Now the best tool that I could say you'd find for that is something that's got an equal V, which is not easy to find outside of chisels, but chisels are usually too blunt, so you'd have to grind your own. This was a little Chinese kid's pocket knife with an all-in-one hatchet, like a hammer type thing, but it's just flawless for this. So you just pull that chain out of there, set it in, and you could rock it, you can tap it in. I mean, I've got to hold the camera with one hand, so I'm not tapping it, but even just going in there and rocking it. A fat screwdriver could be run on a grinder or a belt sander and feathered in to get the right shape as well, and that would work just fine. So I don't want to go cranking on it and open it back up and too far and then have to kind of start over, so just playing with it. And well, what else is new? I'm always playing with it. we'll just keep tweaking and get it fit pretty tight, but still, you know, dragging through smoothly. You want to feel like you can run that cutter tooth through and not have issues. And when you can get to that point, you know you're in good shape. You could dress it up a little with a folded piece of sandpaper running in there, but I wouldn't go too far with that because then it's just going to thin out your rails. Anyway, it's pretty self-explanatory. You get the picture. Now, you don't want to get too carried away tightening that up because you are going to spend a bunch of time getting it open back up. Now, I already showed you this tool here, which I've blunted the tip of it a bit so it sets deeper, and then you can use this rocking action to pry it open. But you're going to, if you close it up too tight, you're still going to get this real jamming kind of crowning action. Now, there's going to be rock no matter what, so don't get, like I said, don't get carried away. This is a tooth that I can barely get down in there, and it will barely glide along. It'll drag in this area, and this is how much rock it is. So this is like still too tight almost. You're still going to have some rock. That thing will cut laser straight. In a little bit, this will dress itself. You know, it'll work in after just a little bit of run time. But some other tools that are handy, going to be this one right here. This is like a funny little mini jeweler type file. It's got a taper to it, it's skinnier at the bottom. I don't know if you can really see, but it's skinnier at the bottom than it is at the top. The spine up back is fatter than the edge right there. So you can go in here with this, but it'll jam if you try to go forward. So what I do is I drag backward, and you can feel the spots in there. I have to look around the camera. You can feel the spots in there that you're dragging on. The more you hold it up toward the tip, the more you get deeper down into the kerf between the plates. And you'll just kind of rake the highs off, the spots that it's jamming on. Another one is this round one. It's completely circular, and that helps break your top edge. Okay, especially after you've dressed it, like after you've flattened the top rails, squared the rails, maybe on a sander or with one of these tools. These tools work, don't get me wrong. I don't like them because of the metal wiry splinters that they create. And a sander is so much faster. A belt sander is just so easy, so fast. And it puts striated marks this way that makes it really easy to see where you've hit it and where you haven't. When you're dealing with these hand ones, they leave a mark that's consistent with the direction of the chain wear. And it's just really not as obvious have you got it squared yet or not. Now, another handy deal is a little stone, a V-stone, a machinist V-stone. You could probably get them from MSC or Enco. Any machinist tool supply would probably have 60 degree V-stones. So that is going to help you break that top inner edge, especially after the dressing. It's just going to help that chain run smoother in there. Now let's look at the difference. This side's not been done and the top side has. So look at how much rock versus this top side. Big difference. Probably 20% up here of what's down there. And you can't go no tighter on this because these ones, like, they want to stand up. They'll go in. I'm not going to open it anymore. That will dress itself in within the first few minutes of cutting wood on the push side. But yeah, that's how you dress a bar. Now I still have to square those top rails and then break the corners down. Obviously I got to do this whole bottom side. But that's how you get a bar that's cutting bananas to start making you flat boards. This bar right here is a 24-inch bar. It's on its second tip. This thing was so worn out that it would not buck a single piece of wood. It would not get through with a brand new chain. It would get 2/3 of the way and it would bind up. Dress those rails, and that thing has cut a bunch of lumber on a Alaskan type mill that's as straight as anything. So bar rail maintenance, very important. As always, I appreciate your time. I hope this was helpful. Subscribe if you want, or send me some hate mail if you want. Leave it in the comments. I don't care either way. But I appreciate your time, and God bless you and praise the Lord.